Hello everyone, again. Tyler Collins here, representing Kabinski Business Systems in Erie, Pennsylvania, and also the Davison Company in Hagerstown, Maryland. Today we're talking about part two of the Pennsylvania Small Games of Chance tracking system that we have designed, which also is in use in multiple states. Looking at my screen here, I'm looking at the front end that we described in video one, where the bartenders are selling tickets and whatnot. Um, on the back side of things, management has what's called the back office. The back office can be placed on any computer with inside a building. So maybe management has an office, and in that office they have a computer that's connected to the point of sale system out front that the bartenders are selling tickets on, which is what we're actually looking at. Uh, and from that back office PC, they have complete control of what's going on for the bartenders. So essentially management makes everything happen here for the bartenders previous to the bartenders selling tickets. So we're actually going to sign out of the front end of things here. And typically the bartenders would never be able to do this. So I'm just going to exit this. And you can see this is a Windows-based system. We run Windows 7 on everything currently. Um, so going into my back office, it's actually going to ask me for a username and password, and this could be created to be anything, but mine is admin username, and my password is admin123. So once I'm signed in, I'm at my main menu, which is, again, just for management purposes. A lot of my numbers that we're going to look at in here are going to be quite skewed because I'm demoing this for people constantly, and I'm pretty much never running an end of day. So I end up with a lot of sales figures that aren't accurate and would not be probably feasible within a club. But we'll do the best we can here. So let's start off by um, looking at the end of day. End of day now can be run manually and automatically. So end of day is designed for starting a new sales day. So in the morning, it's generally ran when the manager comes in for yesterday. So the bartenders were selling tickets all day yesterday. When management comes in the morning, they would run their end of day, which starts a new sales day. And you need new sales days because on the reports, you're going to want to know what you've sold on a day-to-day basis. So manual end of day, I'm not actually going to do it because I think it's going to take a while. But this is something that it would look like, and you would actually select what day you want to run your end of day for. Uh, Last sales day posted was 4/7, so let's say today's the 9th, we're actually going to run it for yesterday. And once I hit OK, it would actually run my end of day. But I'm going to cancel that, go back to my main menu. I'm only going to touch on a few things here because on a day-to-day basis, you're probably only going to use a few things back here. Um, Mainly, it's going to be in the daily work side of things. So before a bartender can sell any tickets um, or even move a game around in the system, you have to do a setup of the game. So we'd go to game setup, and all of this information is actually on the piece of paper that comes with your game when you purchase it from your gaming supplier. We do not sell games at all. Therefore, we do not care where you get them from. We're just here to accommodate and help you keep track of your day to day sales of your games. Um, so, all of this information, and I'm sure if this is a manager that's listening to this, you understand that this information is all on a card that is actually in that game physically. So, if I wanted to create a new game, I would hit this blank button here, and you can see it makes everything blank, obviously. Um, if I wanted to create a new game, but it's actually a game that I've played before, so you probably have repetitive games. Let's say um, ABC is a game that you've played in the past. Once you've entered a game manually, completely manually into here, it's saved in here. So let's say ABC is a game that we've played in the past, or maybe we play it on a daily basis. All I have to do is copy ABC, because every time I get an ABC game, it's always $1 per play. There's always 4,000 tickets in it. It's always the same ideal cash payout. Um, Serial number, I'm just going to make something up. Let's see. Sold by POS. This has to do with if it's a wall machine game or if it is actually being sold behind the bar at our POS system. If it is sold by POS and I click yes, that means it's actually sold by our POS system. And then I would make it say no by sold by machine. I can do a vice versa here as well. If it's sold by machine, then I would click yes. If it's sold by our POS system, I would click no. But I'm going to say it's yes and then a no. And what that does is it allows, if you remember in video one, there to be a sales button next to a game. So there's a sell and a pay button for each game. If I had it configured in this manner, meaning sold by POS, there would be a sales button there. If I had it configured to be a wall machine game, there would be a yes here and a no here, which would only put a payout button on that game. I would then fill in my distributor, and maybe you get games from multiple suppliers. Again, we don't care where you get them from, we just want to keep track of it. So let's say, I'm just going to say it's Justin's company, and one of our employees actually made that up. Invoice number, some people track it, some people don't. I'm just going to make up a number. I can put in the date that the game was purchased, and actually how much we paid for the game. Maybe it was like $85. So at this time, since I've filled out all my information here, I'm going to hit save. And that game is now saved in the system basically forever. Once I've created and saved a game, I'm going to hit the back arrow, which brings me back to my daily work screen. Once I've created a game, I can then control the game. So I'm going to go to game control, and right here is the game that I've just created. So game control has actually brought me to a very important piece of our system, and management uses it quite often, actually every day probably. When I enter a new game, it's going to show up in this box under new games. And I could have a backlog of, let's say, thousands of games if I wanted to. I could just sit here and enter all these games in and just have a log of games that are pre-entered, ready to go. Staff does not see this at all. Um, your bartenders don't see it at all. Nobody sees it except for the person sitting at this computer. When I move a game over to ready for play, it then shows up on the start game screen of the front end of the POS system. So if you remember, these are the games that are available to be started but are not in play. And management has to put those games here. So whenever you do put a game in ready for play, you're probably setting out the physical game itself in that locker or cabinet somewhere in the club that's available to your bartenders. So let's move this game down the line with me. I'm going to select ABC, which is the game I just created. As soon as I do that, it shows up on the front end for the staff, and they're able to start it if they run out of games. As I click on these tabs right here, these screens are going to move from right to left. So when I click ready for play, you'll see my ready for play box is going to move to this position. So again, here's my ABC game. Ready for play is on the left hand side of the screen now. In play has just appeared to the right of the screen. In play are games that are being sold right now today. So staff is physically selling these to patrons. I can move my games in and out of play at any time as the manager. So as the manager from the back office, I can start, stop, or end a game at any time, regardless of what the staff's doing. I can take it away from them, I can put it back in play. It's really up to you as a manager to do with them what you want. So again, I'm going to move my ABC game down the line with me. So I have it highlighted. I move it over, and now again on the front end, it would actually show up on the main screen of the gaming system. Um, Bartenders can move the games once they're available to them, but management can move them anytime in the system. So at the top of my screen, I have my in play box. When I hit in play, it's going to move my in play screen to the left side of my screen. So here's my games that are in play again. Here's my game that I had initially created. And games out of play is the box where when a bartender ends a game from the front, and I said this on the front end, once I end a game as the bartender, I can't do anything with it. It disappears from the front end of the system. Well, on the back end for management, it shows up in this column. So I'm going to end ABC. Once a game is ended, generally management is looking at the sales figures, balancing cash drawers, making sure everything showed up correctly in the system for that game. Again, I clicked my out of play box up here. It moved my out of play box here from right to left. Games closed are games that management has said, okay, we brought in the correct amount for that game. We're done and over with. And then it's saved here indefinitely. You're never going to fill this up. So let's say I'm looking at my sales figures. I brought in all the correct money for this game. I say, okay, I'm the manager. I move it over. That game is now closed and it stays there indefinitely. And every game here can be recalled at any time. So I could look at games from 5 years ago if I wanted to. It's really limitless as far as searching for games and finding game information from the past, which is great from um, a policing standpoint. When you do get audited by the BLCE or whoever's keeping track of your and policing your club, you can recall this information at any time for them for any time period. And I'll get to that here in a second. That's a little overview on how games are moved around in the back office by management, though. So I'm going to get out of this. I'm back to my daily work. Weight entry sometimes gets used. We actually have a scale available for our system. It doesn't directly connect to it, but you can enter weights uh, of games in the system. And what it is basically allows you to do a spot check on your bartender. So maybe there's 4,000 tickets in a game, and they started selling that game today. And on paper, it's saying that they actually sold, I don't know, 562 tickets. But maybe you're suspicious of the bartender or the staff, and you want to say, well, I want to check and see how many you've actually sold. You can put the remaining amount of tickets that are left in that game on the scale and enter those figures, and it'll tell you exactly how many tickets are left in that game physically. Okay, let's go to my main menu again. That's pretty much it for daily work. Again, there's a lot of features in here that we could talk quite a while about, but I don't think we need to because these are the things you're using every day. Reports is a large section, and I'm not going to get too in depth into it because different clubs use reports for different reasons. But one great report that I like to look at is called the Game Analysis Report, and it's actually for a single game. So I'm going to go to my game analysis. And it just prompted me for that because I had a specific printer plugged into this. But once I'm on here, I can search for games in a couple different ways. And I told you this is for a single game. So let's say I can search for game name, physically the game name, it puts it in alphabetical order. I can search by serial number, which numerically puts it in order. I can search by distributor. I'm not tracking too many distributors in my demo here, but a lot of clubs do. Status is where the game's at in the system, meaning is it in play, out of play, available for play, closed. But let's just pick a generic game. going to do Cherry Jubilee. And I don't know what it's going to show up with because, like I said, I demo this all the time, so we'll see what it does. Okay, there's no data available because, again, this is my demo system, so let's try II Captain. Okay, so it did bring up an actual game for me, and my numbers are extremely skewed on this, and the formatting's a little off because of the screen that I'm looking at it on, but it'll give you a general idea of what the game analysis is going to do for you. So here's the information about II Captain that I have previously entered, and this is when I was filling out the information that was given to me with the game. So to actually set up a game, all this information was entered, and you can see that I chose not to put in distributor or invoice number in this, but a lot of clubs do use it. It makes a fancy little graph here for you, sold versus payouts, and it actually has the dates that the game was in play here. Over here we have somewhat of a little chart, I guess if you will, that tells you actual sales, ideal sales, and percent of ideal sales. So because this is for demo purposes, I only sold 9 tickets out of this game. Well, the ideal, meaning how many tickets are physically in the game, is 4,000 tickets. I only sold 0.23% of the ideal sales. So this isn't a great demonstration for you, but it gives you an idea of what it would actually tell you. I didn't have any payouts. The ideal payouts are 3,150. That would mean if you'd sold this game properly, your total proceeds would be $850. Now, a lot of clubs don't sell the games out all the way, and that's really optional and up to you. But if you did sell out the game all the way, $850 would be your ideal. And it's telling me my proceeds were $9 because, again, I didn't sell this game hardly at all. I was just using it for demo purposes. At the bottom of this, this is my big payout transactions, and this is when I was telling you in video 1 that we can set this threshold to print a receipt for any big payout. Currently the state law is $600. It used to be $100, but we can set it to print any amount that you want. Some clubs like to track, let's say, $250. It's really up to you. That's a nice feature actually of this system. I'm going to close this out. Let's do a summary game activity report. So a summary game activity is not for one single game. It's actually for a date range of games, but you can do it for one single game. So we give you the option on this first box here. So I can select a date range to run this for. Let's do it for, I don't know, December 10th. Actually, you know what? Because I haven't demoed in a while, I'm going to set it for, let's say, October 7th through today. And I'm just going to click OK. And again, on this system, I haven't done this specific demo in quite a while. But in that date range, I've only done these 3 games. These are the games that I've actually sold within that date range. And they don't have to be closed. They can be in play, out of play. It really doesn't matter. But these are the 3 games that I've actually sold stuff from in that date range. Let me get a little better example here. Let's do it from Monday, June 2nd through today. So that's giving you a little bit better idea of what this would look like. And It's probably going to be ran for a 1 week period. You can see right here, these are the dates that report is for. But generally in clubs, you're worried about your 1 week period because you don't want to go over a certain amount of payouts in that week period. But you can see these games, this is a general overview of what has occurred in these games, what kind of money they brought in, total sales versus total payouts. And your total payouts is what you're going to be concerned about probably in that 1 week period. Detailed transaction activity, this is going to give you every single transaction that has happened with a single game. So let's say I'm going to run it for one game, but you could do it for a time period as well. Let's try II Captain again. So you can see this, again, this report is for the same game that we looked at on the game analysis, but this is every single transaction that has happened thus far for this game. So the date of the transactions, transaction number, what cashier made the transaction, quantity of tickets in the transaction, dollar figures, amounts that were brought in. So we're positive in this game, meaning we're $9 up on this game. And you can actually see if it was in and out, void, basically any transaction you can possibly do. It's going to tell you what it was under the type column here. So it's a great way to also track your staff too. Big payouts report. I had mentioned what this is. It's going to be any payout. It also shows up at the bottom of the game analysis report. You can see this is showing payouts over $600, but we can make this for any dollar threshold that you would like. It used to be $100, it's now $600 the state is asking for, but it's really up to you as far as what we actually print receipts for and when it shows up on this report. So that's just kind of a general rundown, the quick and dirty version, if you will, of the back office of our KPOS Small Games of Chance system. Um, Again, it's a great tool for management. It's a great way to keep track of your staff. And it's a great way to be ready for your submissions to the state. Online submissions is a huge topic right now, and it is happening actually coming up here. So we're here to help you. We would love to talk more about it. Definitely call us if you have questions about it.